You're absolutely right. You have to show people that their dog can succeed, and I
Yeah,
do that all the time. I say, look, because a lot of people get hung up on, oh, I'm doing it wrong.
yeah,
What I always tell my clients is the only thing you can do wrong is cause your dog fear and pain or be negligent. So we're not doing any of that. So it's a matter of efficiency. It's just like learning anything else. And I also remind my clients, look, you've been walking your dog for 4 years. It's not new. We're just going to tweak it. We're just going to change a couple
that's
of
great.
things.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
It's not a big learning curve. It's just like driving a car. Like, now you rented a car. It's a little bit different than your car. It's still driving. You're just going to tweak a couple things. And then, usually as long as they make an honest go of it, they have good results. If they don't have results, I tell them because you haven't done the work.
it's a really good point. When I started practicing yoga, I went to decided I was going to get healthy because I was a really sickly kid and everything. And I went to, geez, a lot of different teachers, a lot of different people that were presenting something. And I had a teacher who came in and she said, all right, I'm going to teach you some basic bend and stretch exercises. I'm going to teach you some breathing. It'll help you make you feel better. I'm going to teach you a concentration technique to help you quiet your mind and everything. She said, practice it. You're going to love this one because you're a dog trainer. She said, practice this 2 times a day for 20 minutes. And after 6 weeks, see how you feel. She said, you don't have to give up smoking. You have to give up. I was doing recreational drugs because everybody was doing that back then. But she said, if you really want to get a real true assessment about whether this works or not, she said, practice it twice a week for 6 weeks and then see how you feel. She said, if you don't see any dramatic improvement, she said, throw it in the lake. I lived in Cleveland, so that was Lake Erie. She said, throw it in the lake and go try something else. And that's exactly what I tell people in dog training. I said, you've been practicing one way, just like I did, using aversives and using threats and using physical means to get your dog to stop doing stuff. I said, practice this just exactly as I'm showing it and see the improvement in your dog. And if you don't see improvement, then go try something else. I have never had a client, and now it's over 20,000 dogs, who can't admit that they've seen dramatic improvement. I do get clients like I had several weeks ago. She said, or he said that I can't do this. She said, this training that you're teaching is ruining my relationship with my dog. And I said, how so? He said, well, prevention and management. You can't do that with a dog. I want my dog to know that he displeased me. And I said, what would happen if you treated people that way? And so, but everybody is at their own level. And I said, well, you have found that what I'm showing you will work. And if you feel it isn't quick enough, then improve your skills a little bit and see what happens. But isn't that interesting, though?
Yeah, and it's very common, people have this narrative that they build up, right? They want the dog to have some sort of moral imperative, and I remind people that dogs don't possess moral imperatives, right? And I found out a number of years ago that dogs have the cognition of 3-year-old kids for life by the time they're 2, and I tell my clients that because I want to build a lot of empathy, and I remind them your dog isn't out to get you or do anything bad. Dogs care about reinforcement. Going back to what you said, where's the money? Where can I get the payoff? Oh, barking. I like barking. Digging. Oh, I like digging. I was like, they're not doing anything with the forethought of, hey, let me piss off the humans. And I tell people once you let that go, because that is the dog's honest truth. I'm not making it up. It's actually how dog brains work. Once you buy into that, you look at your dog with a whole different perspective because now you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Dogs pee on things. That's what they do. They're not doing it, So yeah, you're absolutely right. You gotta get in there with really simple things and just convince people that, it's about you and the environment, not the dog so much.
Create an environment where dogs can make healthy choices. And you're going to be really surprised just how the fact that your dog is so smart and you have the smartest dog in the world. I've never seen a dog this smart. But everybody understands that. He said, but it's the truth because people my age, well, you've seen the same thing going up. People say, I've had dogs all my life. I know what to do and what don't to do. I said, let's see. And let's see if your dog can understand this. And they don't know how smart their dogs are. They don't know communication. And once dog trainers come in, and I like to stay inside my lane. The first thing I say to people is, whatever you do for a living, I can't do it really well. I said, this is my niche because, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And if you've been doing something for 50 years, you can get pretty decent on it. I said, so just experiment and see with yourself whether this works. And as one trainer said, I don't want to have to carry treats with me for the rest of my life. I said, that's exactly correct. So you want to get a relationship with a dog where you are even more important than the treats. And that makes sense to people, but they've never thought of it that way of saying, oh, life rewards gets me. My dog says, I got it. I understand. You're a most wonderful person. You'll open a door for me. You'll play with me. You'll throw a ball for me. So I'm going to listen to you. And if my dogs would talk, all my dogs would tell me how handsome I am also.
Well, yeah, that's a big one, right? Like whenever somebody says, do I have to use treats forever? I say, well, no, when your dog's dead, they won't need to eat. It's a little morbid, but what I always remind people is, look, you can use life rewards. Absolutely. But food is king. And when you learn how to use food as a reward effectively, you will exponentially improve your dog's behavior. Right. And I explain to people, I say, look, there's times I go for dog walks and I don't use one treat. There's other times there's 6 skateboards, 4 dogs, 9 running kids, I don't know, motorcycles, and I have to counter condition and get leave-its. And then I'm using food because I'm not going to ask a dog who's afraid of a motorcycle to please come over here without payment. It's just probably not going to happen, To
drive that point home, and every dog trainer who is rooted in science, they just present it their own way so people can understand it. And one of the things that I have found resonates with people is, I said, what do you think the lottery is? I said, that's intermittent reinforcement, and there's no more powerful reinforcement than intermittent reinforcement. The dog I might not be doing enough, so I'll do a little bit more. Because this guy eventually is going to give me something. And learning how to read your dog's body language. I think it just builds confidence. It builds trust, which is, to me, one of the cornerstones of any healthy relationship. If your dog trusts you and you trust your dog, something else happens. There's something else grows inside, not only the dog. I keep going back. I'm sorry to become redundant on this, but a great friend of mine taught me about this many years ago. He said, what most people don't learn is that just like you can get better and better playing baseball, better and better at the computer, better and better at doing sports and doing everything, is that what they don't teach in schools is you can get better and better in enlarging your heart. There is no limitation to the word love. There's no limitation to the word trust or kindness or compassion. But it needs practice just like all the other sports do. And I think that's starting to turn around too, because I don't know if you have, again, I'm getting long-winded again, but I used to go into schools and teach children about nonviolence by being nonviolent with dogs. And the magic moment is for the children who, when you walk into the classroom, and I had a 110-pound dog, great big golden retriever, big old bare head, big teeth and everything. And some kids don't like dogs and they're always in the back of the class. And so when I go to them and I say, Grady is a little bit excited about here. Can you help him be a little bit more comfortable and take this treat, and just throw the treat and say, find it. And when Grady takes the treat, that's the magic happens, because Mother Nature, in the form of that big old dog, and is connected to Mother Nature that is inside all of us, trust is born. That little point of progress of, wait a minute, that dog didn't hurt me. And at the end of the class, and I said, now you guys got this dog, this great big old dog with big teeth, to sit and lie down and to stay and to come and to find treats and do tricks. And you never had to yell, and you never had to say no. I said, imagine how you can get along with your family and your friends and your classmates. And that resonates. And that you can talk to your blue in the face to kids, but it's what they can see and what they can do.
I often tell my clients too that don't be surprised if your 10, 11, 12-year-old son or daughter ends up becoming the best trainer in the house. And the parents go, why? I go, well, because they don't have any last dog baggage. They go to school and they're used to being told what to do. And, little Janie's dancing and little Billy's playing sports. So they're used to taking coaching. I show up 2 weeks later and they're like, you were absolutely right. These kids got the dog trained to high heaven. And I'm like, well, they got good mechanics. There's no baggage. They're just doing the work. And the parents get up and they're like, well, I read this and my friend told me that and I saw a TV show. I was like, get out of your head, focus on the dog and the environment. And it's the same story. But, you're absolutely right. Kids are magic that way. Let me ask you this. So having been 50 years in the business of training dogs, where do you think we need to improve in the dog training culture?
You brought up one of the great points of improved communications. There in my latest book, I wrote about what are good dog trainers. Good dog trainers are active listeners. It's just like if you're a stand-up comic, you're constantly reading the audience to see if what you're saying is getting across. All good teachers, whether you're in elementary school or through college, all good teachers are constantly monitoring. They have to get the message out, but the way you present the message so that everybody who is listening to you understands it. So I think if people would actually be conscious of that term, active listening, is what you're saying actually getting through to the people and to the dog. Because if we trainers can communicate to the dog guardians and all of the adopters in the world, is saying your dog speaks a different language. Is your dog listening to you? Is your dog responding to you? Are you getting your message across? Listen to your dog by their body language, by their voice, by what they're doing. I think active listening would be a big thing because, again, I go back to the original of empathy is the only thing that gets us through all this stuff. It's science rooted in kindness and compassion. I think if that became a motto for dog training, I've seen it a little bit, but I would drive that home. I would drive that it is a two-sided coin. It is the science part, but it has to be rooted in kindness and compassion. Otherwise, those robots, as you mentioned earlier, you're never going to have robots that are going to take over human beings because there's no kindness and compassion involved with that.